This is Pastor Greg Locke. He's a hate preacher and a televangelist and a nutter butter of epic proportions. Last week, I released a video about him holding a book burning. This video stands independent of the rest. If you haven't seen the other one, don't sweat it. I will provide context if it's missing. But I wanted to give an update to what was happening. So let me just start from the beginning if you didn't see the previous video. This guy announced he's going to hold a book burning on Halloween night, okay, 2022. He claims to have received an email from the Freemason lodge nearby threatening him, saying that they're going to come in and force him to stop holding the book burning or whatever. And we just got a copy of the email. So we're going to take a look at the email tonight. And also, the burning happened. So we're going to talk about what actually happened, if anybody showed up there to try to stop him by force or any of that stuff. So let's just start from the beginning and talk about exactly what happened. So this is after he announced that he's holding a book burning on Halloween night. On October 26th, he comes on stage and he makes an announcement about the Freemasons Lodge. By the by, he thinks Freemasons are like the Illuminati, like some secretive group that's out there to get everybody and can pull strings like puppet masters or whatever other thing. Listen to what he had to say here about it.
You can be any religion you want to and be a high-ranking Masonic individual. But you cannot be a high-ranking Masonic individual if all you ever do is tout the blood of Christ and talk about Jesus Christ. That's the facts. Now listen to me. I'm going to prove that to you in one simple email that I'm jacked up about. It's from somebody named Arch Stanton Sr. You may know him. He's well known in this community.
Okay, now I'm going to raise contention with that point right there. I looked into this a little bit more, and as far as I can tell, there is no Arch Stanton in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, where he lives. There is no Arch Stanton that's a member of the lodge that he's talking about, the Freemason Lodge that he's referring to here. Doesn't exist. The guy is a fantasy, apparently. Nowhere to be found. Doesn't have a Facebook page. He's not listed on the Freemason Lodge's Facebook page. He is nowhere to be found. So right there is one red flag telling me that Greg Locke is making this entire thing up. But let's keep listening, because there is most definitely more.
But if he ain't ashamed to tell me who he is, then I ain't ashamed to tell you who he is. Greg Locke. My name is Arch Stanton Sr. I'm the worshipful master. That even sounds demonic. I'm the worshipful master of the free and accepted Masons of Tennessee. Number 642, Mount Juliet.
Again, the Freemason Lodge that he just listed does not have an Arch Stanton listed on their membership rolls. So, I don't know.
I've been informed about your anticipated burning activity on October 31st. It saddens me that you're promoting an activity which will almost certainly bring about strife and conflict in Mount Juliet. Well, he ain't been following long, has he?
Yeah, i.e., that's what Greg Locke is all about. Causing strife and conflict. That's his whole bit. That's what he's famous for. So, okay. Glad that he's at least acknowledging this. Too bad he didn't see a problem with it. That was his announcement that the email came in and explaining what the email said and all of that other stuff, right? So then he comes out on stage. We're about halfway through the email. No, not even that. We're probably 3 sentences into the email, right? And then this happens. Listen.
I strongly counsel you all right, let me get back to it here. All right, if I'm lying, I'm dying. God strike me dead right now if I'm lying. Honey, come here and tell me I ain't crazy. I'm telling you, God's untrue. God strike me dead right now if I'm exasperating the truth.
Okay, that sentence doesn't make any sense. Exasperating is not the correct word to use there.
I'm reading the email, and it is gone. I'm talking about right now.
Gasps and everything. Well, like I said, Arch Stanton doesn't seem to be a real person. Arch Stanton, if you're out there and you really wrote this email, get a hold of me, telltalemailbag@gmail.com. I don't think he's real, honestly. I couldn't find any records proving that this guy's real. He's not listed in any of the member logs or the anything at all. And what's more, Arch Stanton is a name from the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is most definitely a movie that Greg Locke would reference if he were to reference any movies. I'm sure of it. It's this whole big alpha male movie that people are obsessed with because they're so cool, gunslingers, blah, blah, blah. So I'm real suspect that the email existed in the first place, right? But then Greg Locke comes out with the actual email, releases it on Facebook, supposedly. The supposed email. So in the previous clip that we were just watching, he tells us the Freemasons are so powerful that they deleted an email right out of his phone while he was reading it because they didn't want him to read it publicly. They're so powerful, they're capable of deleting an email from your phone. That is absurd for a number of reasons. If you want to know what they are, watch the previous video I released about this. Just know that I'm a software engineer, or I was for 6 years, and I still run email servers, and what he's saying is absolutely absurd from a technical perspective. So he's trying to tell us they deleted the email, but he recovered it somehow and released it to us on Facebook. I mean, none of this is adding up at all. There are so many holes in this story, it looks like Swiss cheese. But okay, so let's read the email and see what this supposed Arch Stanton fellow, if he exists, said to Greg Locke. Here's what the post said. The famous Masonic email I was reading last night during the service completely vanished while it was being read. Rewatch the video. You can see my utter shock the moment it happened. No, it wasn't in the trash. It wasn't archived. The inbox flickered and disappeared right before my very eyes. We located it in my sent folder because I certainly responded. So they deleted it from your... you know what? I'm not going to... Okay. We're going to read the email. I'm not even going to bother. Let's keep reading. Here's the full message copied and pasted. I'll comment more at the end. October 26th. Supposedly Arch Stanton. I really don't even think this is a real person, but okay. Greg Locke. My name is Arch Stanton Sr. I'm the worshipful master of the Free and Accepted Masons of Tennessee, number 642 Mount Juliet. Again, no Arch Stanton at this lodge. I'm also a member of St. Lawrence Catholic Church. I've been informed about your anticipated burning activity on October 31st. It saddens me that you're promoting an activity which would almost certainly bring about strife and conflict in Mount Juliet. As you may already be aware, a burning permit is required in Mount Juliet, private property or not. Weather conditions dictate the approval of burn permits. No burning will be allowed when sustained winds are above 10 miles an hour. Due to the changing conditions, permits will not be issued more than 48 hours in advance. Greg Locke claimed that he already had a burn permit in the video that we were watching a minute ago, so I'm not even sure why Arch Stanton would be saying this, but okay. Open burning without a permit will be deemed a violation and subject to a fine for malicious burning. I'd like to strongly counsel you to either cancel this event or schedule an alternative event in this time slot. Okay, you know what's weird? I'm just realizing now. When Greg Locke was first reading this email out, he read this stuff out of order. He didn't read this line right here. I'm also a member of St. Lawrence Catholic Church. He didn't read that as far as I remember. He did read this line right here. I'd like to strongly counsel you, and then paused, right? But he didn't read all this other stuff up here about 10 miles an hour due to changing conditions, blah, blah, blah. He was supposedly reading it verbatim. Why did he just skip a whole section and just jump around in this email? If the email was even real. I'm just deeply suspicious about this. I really don't. I think he wrote this email himself. That's my suspicion. Anyway, let's keep reading. I'd like to strongly counsel you to either cancel this event or schedule an alternative event at this time slot. This type of activity would not promote the cause of Christian unity in the community in any possible way. Should that not be everyone's goal? Psalm 133:1 tells us, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." I've already been in contact with the Mount Juliet Police Department, Wilson County Sheriff's Office, Mount Juliet Fire Station No. 1, representatives from the Grand Lodge of Tennessee Free and Accepted Masons in Nashville, and the Roman Catholic Diocese of Nashville. We'll all be there to stop this event if it's not canceled or replaced with an alternative event. Hard doubt. I deeply, to the bottom of my heart, doubt that a fire department, a sheriff's office, the police department, a Freemason lodge, the Roman Catholic Diocese, I really doubt any of these people would say that they were going to show up to prevent somebody from expressing their free speech. I just don't believe him. You know, I've given Greg Locke the benefit of the doubt in the past and believed him when he said certain things because in my experience, I've felt like he doesn't tend to outright make things up. He tends to build a ridiculous story off of a single grain of truth. He won't usually fabricate a grain of truth. But this is very obviously completely fabricated, the whole thing. This is the event that I needed to see from Greg Locke, to know that the guy isn't just living in a delusional fantasy land where he's like the victim of everything. He's actually setting out to like twist things around and manipulate people, in my opinion. That's what it seems like to me. Anyway, let's keep reading the email. I want to get through the whole thing. We'll all be there to stop this event if it's not canceled or replaced with an alternative event. What about having the children in your church dress up as Bible characters? I'll gladly volunteer myself and members of Lodge 642 to provide some free candy we can pass out on your parking lot. I urge you to reconsider and do the right thing. Do what Jesus would do. Promote love and unity in Mount Juliet. Respectfully, Arch Stanton Sr. None of these people, in addition to all that, none of these people would show up to prevent a burn, like a burning, even if they didn't have a burn permit. It would be a fine. It would not be jail time. Okay, so this is Greg Locke's response in email form. And there you have it, folks. For all the lying haters that said there was no email, you're welcome to use his above-listed email and ask him yourself. That's kind of messed up. We do not, if he was real, that would be really messed up. We do not care who shows up. We are having the burning, and now it'll be bigger than originally planned. You will not bully us. You'll not stop us. There's not a witch, a mason, a diocese, a Satanist, or any other group that's going to stop what God has put into motion. These demons have picked on the wrong one. The Masonic Lodge is 100% satanic and refuse to be silent or be controlled by their vain threats. We need our Global Vision family to show up this weekend, blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, that is the email, supposedly, from this Arch Stanton person, if he's even a real person. I'm not convinced that he is. So let's talk about what happened that night. October 31st rolls around. Greg Locke is getting ready to hold the burning. And if he's to be believed, if Arch Stanton is to be believed, the sheriff's department, the archdiocese, the Catholic organization, the Freemasons, just everybody is going to show up and stop this burning by force, right? Which would most definitely be a violation of their First Amendment rights, without a doubt. I would not stand for somebody preventing this burning from taking place on private property. Like, that would be wrong. That would very obviously be a violation of the First Amendment rights. So what happened, I hear you asking? Did anybody show up? Of course not. Nobody showed up. There were a couple of protesters standing there with signs. That's about it. There was no Catholic diocese, there were no Freemasons, there were no sheriffs there were no police, no fire department, nobody there to try to force Greg Locke to stop holding his burning. Not one person. So did they make it up? I'm inclined to think that Greg Locke did make this up. But let's watch the clip. October 31st, this is the clip of the burning.
All right, guys, look, I'm just going to go live real quick on the page and see what happens because they cut our live feed tonight, so we're just going to go live on Facebook right now.
They cut our live feed. You know what actually happened? He had some technical difficulties. There was no they cutting his live feed. It's not like Facebook shut his video down because they don't like his free speech or something. No, I actually have the video where it was cutting out. It was an audio issue. The mics were not picking it up for one reason or another. It kept cutting the audio in and out, so he turned the feed off and restarted it, and this is him restarting it. But, you know, he's got to get that persecution complex in, of course.
Everybody out here know, in the online community, what we're doing out here tonight at Global Vision Bible Church. Hallelujah. Yeah, they can cut our feed in one place, that's all right. Truth always has a platform, so we welcome all of our online community and Global Vision family. Let everybody know how much you appreciate them tonight being here at the occult burning. So I'll take you down here to the fire. I'm telling you, you have never seen so much witchcraft in all of your life. We're talking about thousands and thousands of books. I mean, thousands.
He's bragging about holding a book burning. How disgusting is this? Seriously. This is literally exactly what the Nazi Party did. They held burnings. How many books did they burn? 20 million over the course of a few years? I forget. I mean, I know I've mentioned this enough times already. I just really want to drive this point home. This is most definitely a Nazi tactic. Burning books that you disagree with, that you don't like, that upset you. Who's the real snowflake? Who's the real cancel culture perpetrator here?
They found the truth does not die easily, and so they decided to abolish truth. One great source of truth is literature, so they burned books, 20 million of them. Many great men in Germany who were spokesmen for truth were jailed or driven from their country.
That was one of the primary goals of the Nazi Party, was to burn books that disproved the nonsense that they were spreading. This film was produced between 1942 and 1947 by the War Department. It's a War Department education film, Information and Education Division, Army Service Forces. It's called Don't Be a Sucker, and it is all about the Nazi movement and how it came to power and everything. I just released a video about it last week if you want to see it. But anyway, the point is, this is the tactic of the far right. This was the tactic of the Nazi movement. And he's taking pride in burning thousands of books. It blows me away that he doesn't see the irony here, that he doesn't see himself for what he really is. A far-right extremist, no different than the Nazi Party.
Thousands and thousands of books. I mean, thousands. Tons and tons of stuff coming in. We've had a few protesters. We have a few detractors, but for the most part, it's been quiet. But here it is.
Wow, weird. Few detractors, few protesters, but it's mostly been quiet. Huh, that's funny, because just earlier you said the fire department, the police department, the sheriff's department, the Catholic Diocese, and the Freemasons Lodge were all coming there to stop you by force. You remember that? It was in an email that you supposedly posted to Facebook. Remember? What an odd thing to say.
But here it is. That's a big fire. That's about 10-foot flames right there. It's blowing up. Listen at them go. Listen at these people go. Listen at these people go. So just keep sharing this. I'm hoping they don't cut the live feed on us, but regardless.
They didn't cut the live feed. Nobody would cut the live feed. He's obsessed with being persecuted. He has to feel persecuted at any cost.
Regardless, if they do, they can know that this is our stand. We are not going to let people bully us. We have had so many people threaten to shut us down, but guess what? The Sheriff's Department is here tonight, several of them in favor of what we're doing for our First Amendment right.
Absolutely. I would be too. I believe in everybody's right to express their First Amendment right. I believe in that. I would defend to the death somebody's right to do something, whether I agree with it or not. But here's the hang-up, the weird part here. This guy said the sheriff's department was coming to shut him down by force just a few days earlier. What happened? Suddenly the sheriff's office is there to protect you? To help you? There's a disconnect here. Somebody's lying. Who lied?
Protecting us, not here to shut us down. Amen.
I think the dude was full of shit from the beginning. I think he knew that he was. And honestly, I think he fabricated the email himself. I really do. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video. If that's not bad enough, the dude just a couple days later went to Books A Million to get obnoxious about witchcraft all over again. Listen to what he said here.
Hey guys, Pastor Greg Locke here, and I came to our local Books A Million to prove a point about witchcraft. I'm so sick of the church saying there's no such thing as witchcraft. Why are you always talking about?
Okay, the church does not say there's no such thing as witchcraft. People like me say that. There's no such thing as witchcraft. I'm sorry. I know I have a lot of witches that follow me. I need evidence, that's all. I just need a little evidence. It's fake. I'm sorry, guys.
Dream catchers and healing crystals and yoga mats and blah, 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 blah.
Fake,
and
fake.
All you ever do is talk about demons. Witchcraft is not real. First of all, witches laugh at us because they're very real. This is our local Books A Million. And this is one side that I'm going to show you of all of the spell books, the witchcraft, 2 entire sections of tarot cards, Ouija board nonsense. You can slow the video down later and see it. Tons of stuff about practical witchcraft.
Who cares? Guess what? Just like you have a First Amendment right to scream about stupid shit at your church or to burn things, much as I find that completely grotesque. You have that First Amendment right. Guess what? I have a First Amendment right to read that stuff that you're trying to burn. That's what it's all about, baby. We have a right to express ourselves however we want to, as long as it isn't affecting somebody else directly. But if you saw my other video about this, the one that I released like last week or something, you will know that Greg Locke doesn't give a shit about other people's rights. Never did, matter of fact. The dude's talking about being persecuted because people want to shut down his burning. Again, I doubt that anybody even said they wanted to do that. But in retaliation to them supposedly threatening to shut down his burning, he says this.
When those guys get dressed, most of them pastors get dressed in the dark because they put on their women's underwear, huh? They got their wife's undies on. Bunch of sissies.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but all right. Just a shot across the bow for people who like wearing lacy underwear. Like, what's wrong with that?
They're not violating our First Amendment right. We have a Tennessee constitutional right to burn occultic items.
Absolutely agree. 100%. He absolutely does. That is correct.
And we have a national constitutional right to do exactly what we're going to be doing and are protected by the law. We got a lawyer on speed dial. I'll sue every one of them. I will be the owned mayor of Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Okay, so let me just walk you through the timeline of events now. He says, we have a right to do this. No one is going to stop us from doing it, and if they do, we will sue. Fair enough, I'm on board. Absolutely, you do have a right to do this, 100%. Then he says this.
And I'll ban every witch from this town, I'll tell you that right now, I will.
It was never about people's rights. It was never about First Amendment rights. It was about control. It was about getting rid of the people or the things that he doesn't like. That's it. He never cared about people's rights. He only wants to use those rights to destroy the people around him. That is what it's all about for Greg Locke. Here, listen to this again.
Tons of stuff about practical witchcraft, astrology, again, tarot cards, crystals, yoga, Greek mythology.
Greek mythology, okay, that's history, isn't it?
Look what's a part of the witchcraft section. The Secret, that's a book about manifesting your destiny, making things come to pass. Tons of stuff here. Look at this whole section.
You know the weirdest thing about this? Like, Greg Locke and I can agree that this is all ridiculous and shouldn't be read. But here's where we diverge. I don't think it should be burned. And I don't think it's real. This dude does. He thinks this is real. It's like a joke.
Isn't that interesting?
What's interesting? Like, what? Body, mind, and spirit. Okay, what? What's interesting? It's just stupid books.
Isn't that interesting? Stuff all over the place. Look at this stuff in the middle. Candles galore. Pentagrams everywhere.
Like, who cares? This is other people's business, not yours. If you don't want to take part in any of this shit, then don't. No one is handcuffing you to this table and forcing you to play with this stuff. Like, get over yourself. He doesn't care about your rights. He cares about destroying you and your rights. It was never about moral consistency. He has none. It was about controlling other people, plain and simple. Let me know what you think of this, and if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments.